This is our news, the weekend edition, and on the broadcast tonight. On the defense, the health minister justifies government's auditing of contracts issued by the Public Hospitals Authority. Plus, the deputy prime minister gives a plan of action in light of bank closures on Family Island. And another traffic fatality in the capital.
Our news is brought to you by Airline.
Good evening and happy Easter, everyone. I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. Topping the news, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands is defending the government's decision to audit millions of dollars in contracts issued by the Public Hospitals Authority under the former Christie administration. Dr. Sands says with the public health sector continuing to run at a more than $20 million deficit a year, the government needs to ensure it is spending money wisely. Jasmine Brown reports.
The health minister insisted that the public healthcare system cannot improve without proper funding, and that means stopping wastage.
That is a huge conundrum. It's a big problem.
Under the former government, PHA contracts worth more than $53 million were issued to various companies for construction, facility upgrades, and equipment. Of that figure, more than $12.8 million was paid to vendors, leaving a balance of more than $40 million in outstanding bills. Sands says with millions of dollars in public funds being spent, the audit is vital.
It's a big problem. So what we're trying to do is to identify every single item of waste, every inefficiency, get rid of it. Free up those funds to be repurposed for medication, for surgical supplies, for human resource purposes. But even when you complete that process, you find that you are still short of revenue, and there's an expectation by the public that they need a CAT scan, they need an ultrasound, they need surgery, they need a bed, and so on. Given the fact that we have made significant choices in terms of diet, exercise, etc., we have a particularly unhealthy population. And so I have decided to be brutally honest with the Bahamian public about the reality of healthcare. The general refrain is, okay, Dr. Sands, we're tired of hearing about it. Fix it, fix it, fix it. The process of fixing it means that we all have to work together.
One area of major concern is the issuing of contracts for numerous facilities on the Family Islands. During the budget debate earlier this month, Dr. Sands accused the former PLP government of going forward with the $6.6 million upgrade to the Smiths Bay Clinic in Cat Island, despite a nearly 40% decline in visits to clinics on that island in the past decade. Sands revealed the decision did not follow the advice of the ministry's technical team, and projections show the expensive building of the clinic would have served an average of 5 patients per day.
We don't have the ability to spend money indiscriminately.
Meantime, there is currently no timeline for when that audit will be completed. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, branch closures at RBC have begun. The Robinson Road branch closed just recently, and of grave concern is what will happen when the announced branch closures on 2 Family Islands take place. Our Jillian Gray spoke to the Minister of Finance, Peter Turnquest, who gave the proposed plan of action.
Amid growing concern over the state of domestic banking in the Bahamas, Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest conceded that a plan is needed to assist those Family Island communities affected by bank closures. In January, Royal Bank notified customers that its Robinson Road and JFK branch would be consolidated with its Carmichael Road branch, while RBC's Andros Town and Grace Long Island locations would be merged with its main Bay Street branch. The announcement came months after the Bank of the Bahamas said it would be closing branches on Exuma and Grand Bahama.
But during this period, we have been looking at a range of options, including getting the Bank of the Bahamas to go. And again, of course, we don't want to put them in a position where they are losing money, and so they have to do their own analysis around that. We're also looking at agency banking, We're also looking at electronic banking with respect to some of the money transfer operations that exist in the country today. We are even looking at going to an electronic banking a platform, a cashless environment or a limited cash environment, and investing in the technology to make that happen as quickly and as smoothly as possible. So we're looking at a whole range of options in respect to these islands.
The opposition has lashed the government for its weak response to this predicament. Exuma and Ragged Island MP Chester Cooper said he intends to motion for a select House committee to review the practices of foreign clearing banks in the Bahamas. Meanwhile, opposition leader Philip Davis questioned what he called an apparent lack of action or pushback from the government on this matter. However, Turnquest says steps will be taken to ensure residents' banking needs are met when RBC pulls out of those islands.
I want to give those residents that are affected every assurance that the government of the Bahamas is committed to finding a solution to this matter. We recognize that they cannot go unbanked as communities because there are risks involved in respect to that, and we will certainly encourage or come up with a solution to ensure that they are included in the banking community and have access to the resources that they need.
However, the Deputy Prime Minister says the government needs assistance from the private sector to fill the void left by bank closures. We would love the public sector the private sector to rise to the occasion and provide some solutions. The web shops, they have a unique position. Their legislation prevents them from doing certain things, and we don't particularly see changing that at this particular point. But there are a number of other electronic banking options that are available to us, and as I say, including making these islands cashless through the use of electronic technology, and we'll see how that rolls out in the next month or two. Back in February, RBC executive Tim Ryder said corruption, poor fiscal responsibility, outdated mortgage and lending laws, and an inadequate education system have negatively impacted the local banking industry and forced banks like RBC to make hard choices. Ryder has since retired. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
And as the Minnis administration continues to deal with bad press surrounding the $5.5 billion oil Oban Energies deal for East Grand Bahama, the Free National Movement chairman says the government is actually focused on a whole lot more. Carl Calmer said in the coming months, Bahamians will get to see the fruit of their labor throughout inner city communities in particular.
As you can see, the Prime Minister, he made a statement the other day on the Southern Recreation grounds. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at it, but that would transform and you'll see a historical site and we're not about going into the politics of it. We're about whatever the opportunity is available for each constituency.
The F&M chairman also pointed to work being done in constituencies that the party was unable to secure during the last election. Seats like Anglerston, according to Calmer, won't be left out.
You know, it's politics where persons will try to undermine and say what the government is doing. The opposition is doing their job. But there's some of the seeds of discord trying to get some things out there. But we're going to stay focused, and we're going to stay on track. We're going to live up to our promises that we made to the Bahamian people, and we're going through them, and we're going to take them off one by one as we go through them. You will hear more as in the next few weeks as we continue to outline what we've done, what we accomplished, and what we plan to do going forward. So stay tuned.
On to news from the crime beat. Traffic police are investigating yet another traffic fatality here in New Providence that's left a woman dead. Not much information at this point on how the accident happened, but police say the incident involved a black Honda Fit, which was driven by the female, and a white Nissan Tita driven by a male. The accident occurred shortly after 12 this morning, and when EMS personnel arrived on the scene, they attempted to revive the female, who was unresponsive. She was later pronounced dead on the scene. As for the male driver, well, he's listed in serious condition. Investigations continue. The national airline is apologizing to the public for the extensive flight delays Bahamas Air's Fort Lauderdale service experienced recently. In a statement, the airline advised that it was called upon to transport our national swimming team to Jamaica and assist with transporting other participating athletic teams from Trinidad, St. Lucia, and Antigua to this weekend's Carifta Games. Last week's repatriation of those illegal migrants from Eleuthera also was a contributing factor. Bahamas Air officials say despite extensive planning and best efforts, these obligations directly impacted the airline's ability to recover in a timely manner from the abnormal operations on the Fort Lauderdale service. However, officials say they have recovered and are now operating as normal. Bahamas Air thanks its valued customers for their continued support and reiterated that the extensive delays experienced on Thursday is not the norm. And we'll take our first break here, but still to come on our news. An environmental group says the country's natural resources can add millions to the treasury. We'll tell you the details when our news returns.